Remember Lily Tino, the trans woman who had no problem sharing her emotions, talking openly about her transitional experience, and ultimately cultivating a rapidly expanding following that identified with her vulnerability?
I got my cake pops removed, but now it's time to turn my candy cane into a donut.
Admirers of her transparency showered her with support. Her post received a lot of attention. Viral fame has a way of changing, because the more well-known a creator gets, the more scrutinized they become. For Lily, this change didn't happen all at once. It developed gradually as a result of public interactions, changing content selections, and the questionable things she did that got the viewers turning against her.
I think Disney's gonna ban me for this one. My corn dog is still intact.
And as those conversations spread across platforms, the narrative surrounding her started to change, and soon enough, her forgotten past began to re-emerge.
Nicholas Contino, also known as Lily Tino, was arrested in 2016 for stalking a woman.
This video will examine that transition from being relatively unknown for many years to her quick ascent to viral fame, the public altercations that influenced her content, the scandals that heightened interest in her name, and the acts she committed that ultimately damaged her online reputation. This is how Lily Tino ruined her life. If you spend a long enough time on the internet, you'll start to notice a pattern. Some creators do the corniest stuff and literally blow up overnight because they're trendy, while others become famous online because everything they do is controversial. Then there are creators whose content is a mix of both, and that's exactly the case of TikTok's Lily Tino.
Hi friends! Today we're talking about something super cool called pronouns.
Before the fame, before the followers, before anyone even knew who Lily Tino was, she was just an ordinary NPC who loved documenting her personal journey. In fact, back then, no one had ever even heard of the name Lily. All they knew was the happy-go-lucky fella, Nick Contino.
This is my impression of Chewbacca sinking on the Titanic.
Back then, his content barely got any views and barely even attached any new followers. But all that was going to change after he finally figured out how to express himself the only way he knew how. Although is promptly followed by him losing all the attention that he had quickly become addicted to. We'd get to all that much later. For now, Nick's life seemed normal to online strangers. Nothing exceptional, just another online character. However, Nick's personality and sexuality weren't always accepted by the public, so things were much more complicated on the inside. He'd been in the closet for so long that he never had any confidence in himself. But by the middle of 2021, he began a dramatic change into the Lily that we know today.
I just found this video of me from May 9th, 2019. I did not know that I was trans yet, and I wouldn't know, apparently, for over another year. And I mean, you can just see it in my eyes. I am so confused and excited, and there she is.
Although it came as a shock to many of her early followers, Lily was sure that this was what she wanted, and made it a habit of showing what her transition looked like every step of the way.
One kiss is all it takes.
The thing was, starting hormone therapy was more than just a medical choice for Lily. It was a life-changing event, an emotional affirmation, and the first step toward bringing her outward life into harmony with her inner feelings.
Pops, you misgender me.
She used social media as an outlet, like many people, going through significant life changes. Although she wasn't initially seeking the public's approval at the start of her content creation career, one video would change everything.
Can trans women get pregnant? No, sadly not, because we don't have a uterus. But in the future, it might be possible. You see, there's this new thing called a uterus transplant, where they take a uterus from a donor and put it into the body of someone who is unable to give birth themselves. Once the uterus is in, they pop a baby in, and 9 months later, the baby is delivered via C-section. Uterus transplants have only been performed on cisgender women so far.
The post was a viral success and currently has more than 10 million views, allowing followers to see a more vulnerable side of the character, especially how deeply unhappy she was living as a man. Of course, viewers were awed by the contrast she presented and showered all types of positive support in the comment section. "You are beautiful, girl. Keep being you. Thank you for sharing your story. You're a loving, amazing lady." The outpouring of support was so positive and authentic that the TikTok algorithm took notice, and a video that was shared for her little followers to keep up with her everyday struggle soon reached a wider audience, skyrocketing her popularity as a result. And just like that, Lily's story had reached people who had never heard of her before. As her followers increased, Lily began posting more updates about her life, very raw and very undiluted, but still very appreciative of the amazing support she was getting.
Wow, okay, 9 million views on my TikTok. Very cool, very crazy. Thank you, everyone, for all of the support. It's been a wild ride so far and a wild 48 hours. A couple of people have been asking me about transitioning and if they need someone to talk to and if I could be there to talk to them, and I wanted to make that easy.
Her pure honesty was very much appreciated by her followers, who never missed an opportunity to tell her how amazing she was. Thank you for all that you do, and I'm glad that you're in my world. You are so cute. By this point, although it was still early in her career, Lily already had thousands of followers on TikTok alone. And as her follower count continued to rise, so did the varying opinions of the people who came to her comment section after every post. Initially, these voices were more complimentary than confrontational, easily ignored by the waves of support she was getting. But they were there, observing, anticipating, and responding differently to the vast majority. It would not be long before others started calling her out on her claims that she was actually transitioning.
So Lily Tino is a cross-dresser, all right? And I think that they are also in what I call sissy territory. So in the BDSM kink community, sissy is somebody who is a male, a cisgender. I want to tell you this, a cisgender man who gets off sexually. Not every person who is born a man, again, gets off sexually on dressing as a woman and looking like a woman and acting feminine, alright? But there are men out there that do.
Lily's viral videos had changed her life, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though the internet had fully embraced her journey, providing her with visibility, a platform, and a community of people who stood by her no matter what she did. But with visibility comes exposure, and the pressures that come with it, and Lily would quickly learn firsthand how fickle the internet was. Up until this point, her content was mostly just her, trying out new clothes and trying to adjust to becoming more of a woman every day, and her fans loved her for that. She didn't seem to have any malice against anyone and looked to be genuinely inclusive. So it was only fair that as her online fame increased, Lily started going outside and began filming videos in parks, public areas, dining establishments, and pretty much any place she felt most at ease. Soon enough, she was comfortable going to restaurants and making lovely conversation while she ate. Unfortunately for her, it was during these explorations that she would have her first truly hateful experience that would change her perspective forever.
You know I'm a TERF, right? Trans-eccentric radical feminist.
Are you a TERF?
I'm a TERF.
Wow.
Would you like me to move somewhere else? I guess.
No, actually, you should tell me about being a TERF.
You're
Yes.
a boy, right? Don't go with me, because honestly, I did hard.
I'd like to see you try.
Well then, don't judge me for being a TERF. I get to be who I want to be, you get to be who you want to be, right? If that's what you want, to be who you want to be, then I get to be who I want to be.
Which is,
I'm not a witch.
you're not a witch.
You know what? Take your stupid dog, eat your fucking food, and get the fuck out of my life, okay?
This came as a shock to Lily. In all her years as a content creator, she hadn't received this kind of visceral attack before. Everyone she had met seemed to be nice to her. The only place she's seen this kind of hate was in her comment section, which was now reaching heights she never expected. Of course, her comment section was filled with people who wished such a thing had never happened to her. I'm disappointed that the staff did not immediately kick her out. This is so disheartening. You were the perfect example of kindness. Luckily for her, the sympathy seemed to have improved her relationship with her fan base, even growing the number by thousands. They loved the idea that she was juggling public scrutiny and personal development at the same time, and they could tell that it was getting harder and harder as she became more popular. Unfortunately, that sense of unified support wouldn't last long, because not long after, Lily was part of another rather disturbing encounter with a bunch of strangers while she was making another video at a restaurant.
Is it 10 out of 10, sir? I don't know.
Oh, would you like to show your faces?
Yes.
Okay.
How is it?
First off, you called me sir, right?
Oh, I meant to say man. That's my
Oh,
bad.
no.
What are
Oh,
your
okay.
pronouns?
No, okay.
What are your pronouns?
She, her.
She, her. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Never
What's your
know.
name?
I don't have a name. My name's.
There we go.
See you, sir.
Oh, wait, one more time? I didn't catch that. See you, sir.
Although the interaction seemed like targeted hatred of Lily Tino by a bunch of teenagers trying to outdo each other, unlike her first real hateful encounter, this interaction was a bit different. The tension was on both sides and neither came off clean. According to Lily, who later dropped another post, reacted to the encounter and how she was hurt by it.
You don't need to say hello, sir, or hello, ma'am. Just say, hey, how's it going? What can I get for you? And why do I get upset? It's because I'm a human being with human feelings, and when someone says something that hurts me, I say something about it, because otherwise it simmers and festers, and no one likes that.
But unlike her last rant after the restaurant incident, the comment section wasn't entirely in support of her. I do not support Lily Tino. However, misgendering her purely because you dislike her or find her annoying is disgusting. 2. Outright hate. Lily Tino, they could never make me like you. At this point, it didn't come as a surprise to many that Lily was getting this much hate in her comment section. Her content had grown from just making videos about herself to actually filming people without their consent. And when this video dropped, many of the negative comments were about her desire to use other people to her advantage. And to make matters worse, these were just kids. You shouldn't have shown their faces either way. I believe they're minors, and with these types of videos, they could get doxxed, have death threats, and their future could be affected. There were obvious differences between the earlier restaurant encounter and this one. But the real difference was the type of content Lily had been putting out in the time between the two videos. These two events weren't particularly isolated. After the viral success of her first real public appearance, Lily had made it her duty to create content in public.
Today, me and Mr. Nugget are going on a tour of San Francisco in his stroller. Wait, what's that? You want me to put the stroller into sport mode? You say so.
In the early days, her platform revolved around personal storytelling, things like her transition, her emotions, her growth. But after the restaurant incident, she made public interactions the core of her content, something her original fanbase wasn't too interested in.
Today I'm at a Peruvian brunch restaurant. Will the meal cost more than $100 in San Francisco? Will it be as delicious as it needs to be? Will I be the cutest person in this restaurant? So far, the answer is yes.
At first, during this type of content, they were just videos about whatever she was having that day or about a restaurant she was visiting that afternoon. And honestly, although they had deviated from her core content of sharing her transgender journey, her comments weren't that bad. Many were just literally in support of the food she was having, while others still celebrated how far she'd come in her transgender journey. As you can see, at least initially, people weren't too upset about Lily filming herself at various eateries and chronicling her experiences, as many lifestyle creators do. She appeared to be merely branching out into lifestyle and food-related content, gradually turning into a food critic. However, it wasn't until she started picking on restaurant staff that all hell broke loose. Somewhere along the journey, Lily had become entitled. She'd gone from being polite to everybody to demanding that everyone maintain a certain standard around her, and it would ultimately ruin everything she had built up to that point. One of her very first signs of her misplaced prerogative occurred one sunny afternoon while she was making more content. A staff member who had been nice to her up to that point misgendered her as they were serving her food, and Lily would not let it go.
Hi. I use she, her pronouns. I'm not sir. Yeah, like it's like a knife in the heart. I did specifically ask ahead of time not to be called sir. Yeah, I'm just gonna go.
Although it wasn't the first time that she's been misgendered at a restaurant, fans expected her to be more accommodating. Since she had been an advocate for tolerance, they had not expected her to just walk out of the restaurant even after the waiter apologized. But to their surprise, this would not be the last time, as Lily would go on to blow every subsequent misgendering episode out of proportion.
Thank you. I'm not sir. Not sir. Not sir. The guy who dropped the food off, he called me sir twice in a row.
I'll let him know that, and
Thank you, I appreciate that.
This time, she somehow felt she did nothing wrong, even though she had potentially put someone's job on the line, simply because they had mistakenly used the wrong pronoun. And of course, her comment section was filled with people calling her out, with one saying, "Why speak with the manager and make people feel even more guilty for misgendering you? It's going to happen. Get over it." And another adding, Why are you setting up a camera and waiting to be misgendered? Acting so entitled. From Lily's perspective, these weren't harmless mistakes. They felt personal. Like a knife to the stomach, she would say. This made her feel invalidated, and rather than ignore them, she chose to address them. She would correct staff, even if it meant speaking to a manager, and then speak about the incident afterwards or include it as part of her overall restaurant review. To her, dining out wasn't just about food quality, it was about the full experience. And as much as it annoyed her fans, she continued to berate staff over her pronouns.
Hi there.
Regular water, okay?
Yes, please. And oh, just so you know, are you my server?
Yes.
My pronouns are she, her.
Okay. It's all good for me.
Thank you.
I understand the whole thing, but it's complicated sometimes because I want to say man, but she is, you know what I mean? It's hard because over here she might be they or something. You know, they have different. I mean, I have no problem. I grew up here in San Francisco.
Okay. If you want, I can help.
Okay, we'll talk.
Okay.
I mean, it's just all I'm getting at is it's just one should not expect that one, even though he's San Franciscan and liberal and open, will know all that because I'm a little bit older and I don't have a lot of friends, so I'm not always saying she, he, they, whatever. That's all I'm saying. You see what I mean?
Okay.
It's just a little bit complicated. It's not in a sense, but it, you know, like you want me to say man or she? Yeah, that's no problem.
This time, fans were quick to call out her hypocrisy. Notice how you didn't ask the server what pronouns they use? I feel like you make it uncomfortable. They could tell that she was actively weaponizing the fact that the waiters didn't know about her preference of pronouns better, using it to gain more clicks and rage bait her haters. But of course, none of their opinions would get her to stop harassing staff members. It was like a ritual. Lily would go to a restaurant, set up her camera, order some food, and expect the waiter to misgender her. Then she would upload the entire interaction and rack up millions of views and engagement. And things were even more disturbing because whenever she felt she needed a boost to her followers or some sort of validation, she would head to a restaurant and make more rage-baiting videos, even if it turned the entire world against her.
That is fancy looking. Cool.
The bottom is from Thailand.
Coconut bread from Thailand.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. And the middle one is from India. It's the papadom with the gingerbread chutney.
Okay.
And the third is from Brazil. It's a cheese bread with the guava sauce.
Thank you. It just like totally sucks the joy out of this bread tower. Makes me want to immediately like leave because I no longer feel like safe here. It's like, oh, my guard now has to be up. I'm not going to enjoy this bread as much because my guard is up. We should be able to go places and not have to worry. I don't think I really want this bread tower, actually. I think I'd rather have the check, if that's
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
I think that's the training. They're supposed to say friend or just not use gendered language. It's like a pretty big thing that Disney has done. Nothing was wrong with bread. I just don't want it anymore. Just because they apologize doesn't mean she doesn't feel sad or offended.
This particular episode was just too much for her followers, who immediately turned on her with most of her comments being very negative. I'm a huge LGBTQ+ supporter as I'm gay myself, but I feel like you're doing this on purpose to gain attention from the wrong side and making it look extremely bad for the rest of us queer people, especially when a lot of the time they have apologized to you and you are still making it somehow worse.
My God, you are so sensitive.
It was on this premise that when she got intentionally bullied by that bunch of teenagers, no one was really on her side. In fact, a large part of her followers were now haters who would go to any length to prove that she was and had never been a nice person, ultimately digging up some of her old tweets that eventually got her cancelled really badly. To make matters worse, a couple of Lily's posts from her pre-transition days began resurfacing across the internet, impossible to ignore amid the growing scrutiny. It started when sharp-eyed viewers dug into her archives and spotlighted a Reddit confession that crossed every line and raised concerns about her still well-maintained reputation. In one thread, Lily, still presenting as a male, casually shared this. When I was 3 and my other 3-year-old friend who was a girl and I would play doctor, I put my fingers up her vagina and licked it too. Guess I started from an early age. This wasn't some isolated shock post. It was part of a pattern. A quick background check revealed she'd been fired from a previous job for sexually harassing female coworkers, with details leaking out via screenshots and old colleague testimonies. But Lily's digital trail didn't stop at predation hints. Rather, it extended into something far worse with her rising influence. This was just a little snippet of the kind of creepy content she posted regularly on the internet, even going as far as showing off her racist persona openly without any sort of accountability. Like the time she replied to a hate comment on her post talking about her antics, saying, "You might be onto something here. I accepted her privilege as a white person." However, this didn't come without consequences. She was soon jabbed for such heinous remarks and disgusting revelations on the internet, with people people calling her the Oxford Dictionary description of predatory creep for confessing and joking about childhood predation. Another viewer expressed their disgust, saying, "I cannot stand that disgusting predator." This backlash forced Lily Tino to speak up to try and clear her name. Not surprisingly though, she ended up making matters worse for herself than she would have if she kept silent through it all. In a subsequent post, Lily talked about her previous comments and apologized for her attitude, saying, "You might have recently seen a screenshot of the 2 comments I made on Reddit when I was 18 years old. I can confirm that both are true and not Photoshop. The blackface comment was disgusting and inexcusable. At 18, I was in a very dark and sad place. I considered myself a lord and thought that offensive, dark, edgy humor like this was funny. That is not who I am today. I deeply regret saying that." However, things only started going downhill for her and her reputation when she went to Disneyland in Florida to start a series of content that would not only frame her as a predator, but also one of the most ignorant creators on TikTok. What started as supposed educational content quickly spiraled into something disturbing. She began posting TikTok videos using food items.
Good man from Disney. Last summer, I got my cake pops removed, and the plan up until recently was to get my marshmallow wand reconfigured into a marshmallow tunnel. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago, I noticed some hair regrowth on my marshmallow wand. That's bad because the outside of the wand is what becomes the inside of.
To talk about sexual transition. As disgusting as it sounds to be talking about sexual transition at a place meant for children and families, it soon escalated into a lot more, with added outrageous remarks and comments. Not only was she openly talking about transitioning, but she did it so frequently that her entire account became a hub for sexual education, revolving around transitioning and fitting into the norm.
You know, it sounds crazy, but trans women can produce milk to feed a baby. Here's how. Step 1, you must grow your coconuts. After about 3 to 5 years of estrogen, you will have fully functional milk ducts from which you can feed a baby.
During this phase of spreading misinformation, she received a massive wave of backlash from viewers, while also becoming the target of widespread mockery from people already familiar with her online persona. With all the criticism racking up, her Disneyland videos became even more frequent, with her doubling down on content that fueled her trans propaganda. However, amidst all of this, she didn't stop posting videos about being misgendered and weaponizing her trans identity.
I know there are people out there who are hell-bent on never ever being accommodating to trans people. Like, I will never call you by those pronouns. You will never have my respect or whatever it is. And like, is that really worth it to you? Putting all of that effort to be nasty? Because if we meet and you call me by the wrong pronouns, it's gonna be a confrontation.
With all these absurd videos attracting the attention of thousands of viewers and her comment section filling up with criticism about her exaggerated reactions to being misgendered, the trend continued long enough for her to cross yet another boundary. She eventually posted a video about something so shocking and disturbing.
Made it into Disney World. I don't really know what the deal is with bathrooms. You know, Florida is really conservative. I don't know what the rules are. Trans women are allowed to be in women's bathrooms, but I'm about to go and use the bathroom because I have to tinkle.
That it instantly reignited public outrage. Not only was she unaware of Florida's laws regarding trans restroom use, which clearly state that individuals are to use bathrooms and changing facilities corresponding to their sex assigned at birth, and that violating this law by refusing to leave when asked can lead to criminal trespass charges for people 18 and older, but she completely disregarded them. For Lily, these laws were nothing more than mass transphobia, restricting trans people from doing as they pleased in public. So she entered the women's bathroom regardless, even exploiting the privacy of women already present inside.
If I get stopped, I get stopped, I guess, but I'm a woman, so I'm going to use the women's bathroom, and being in Florida or being in California or wherever isn't going to stop.
On top of that, she went even further by posting selfies taken inside these washrooms, ranking them based on cleanliness and for some, more disturbingly, their tolerance towards trans people. Any bathroom where she was misgendered was immediately given the lowest rating. Meanwhile, bathrooms where she was called ma'am or addressed using her preferred pronouns were awarded the highest scores. However, the worst part was that these selfies often included other women in the background, actively violating their privacy in a space meant exclusively for women. Her indifference to this invasion of privacy only made the situation even more disturbing. As expected, the internet erupted in outrage over her actions. Many criticized her for knowingly violating strict state laws, with one viewer stating,
"You're genuinely one of the reasons why women won't feel safe."
Another pointed out that Disney literally has family and gender-neutral restrooms available. Instead of taking any of this criticism constructively, Lily Tino doubled down. Her continued posting of selfies inside women's bathrooms attracted even more backlash. One critic explained that public urination taboos exist because they prevent men from exerting dominance over public spaces that exclude women. describing it as a powerful form of territorial appropriation. This move eventually landed her in serious legal trouble. Authorities reported that she was facing legal scrutiny and a potential investigation by the Florida Attorney General regarding videos and photos filmed inside women's restrooms, along with possible charges for invasion of privacy and emotional distress. However, rather than expressing remorse, Lily Tino responded by clapping back in the worst way possible.
Take a listen.
Truly, they wanted to say it was against the rules for you to take bathroom selfies. That will ultimately be a good thing. You said, not like that I'm happy to be in trouble that way, but this is what it is being an advocate, okay? This is like, my goal in taking those pictures was to normalize trans women using the women's.
Instead of taking accountability, she argued with the law and claimed that this controversy was the very reason she began her activism in the first place.
That kind of thing doesn't happen without friction. Okay, thank you, Jordan, for subbing. It doesn't happen without friction, okay?
She further blamed the state for exaggerating the situation and complicating things unnecessarily, without apologizing in any way for her actions.
Florida, as a state, wants to make a stink about it. They certainly are welcome to. But ultimately, they'll have to know that if they do that, that will do nothing but draw more attention to the issue, right? Which ultimately they might want to do, but these aren't the kind of things that people like truly go to prison for.
This response only further enraged viewers, many of whom spoke out in favor of the state and its laws, saying,
"There's no justification for what he did."
And,
"Florida doesn't play. Our governor doesn't play. It has nothing to do with trans rights."
However, Lily was not about to let herself be slandered without trying to justify her behavior in every way she could.
Those Disney bathroom selfies got y'all real upset, huh? Saying, "Oh, Lily, you can't take selfies in the bathroom. It's not appropriate." Well, let me remind you that literally every celebrity you've ever enjoyed on screen has at one point taken a bathroom selfie. For example, and it's not just celebrities. Any woman you ever meet has likely taken a photo in a public bathroom. Why, you ask? Because we look cute and we want to document it. So what is different about me that I'm not allowed to take bathroom selfies?
She insisted that it was her right, and the right of every trans woman, whether they look like women or not, to be able to have bathroom privileges without being questioned about their gender and sexuality.
People judge trans women differently depending on how well they pass. If you pass, that means you don't look trans. I know that I don't pass. Trust me, I know. But passing privilege is a real thing. There are some trans women out there who, no matter how hard they try, will never be able to pass. Do those trans women deserve to be treated differently? No.
But it was already too late for her to justify or validate any point she had to make, because the internet was completely against her and wanted her immediate deplatforming for promoting and normalizing this insane practice. That outrage soon turned into a full-blown campaign named Remove Lily Tino from TikTok, which very quickly reached over 500,000 signatures. But this didn't seem to bother Lily at all. At this point, she had enough confidence in herself and the media to believe that there would be no real consequences for tampering with her online presence and branding.
Lily Tino says he's going to start going to bathrooms even if it is against the rules, after everything this man has done publicly, and now he says he's walking in on your daughters, whether it's against the rules or not.
On top of that, she began actively victimizing herself, posting video after video explaining what had happened and insisting she had nothing to do with it in any way.
I am suing Lily Tino for emotional distress. Last week, I was in Disney World in the women's bathroom with my child. And when I walked into the bathroom, there was Lily Tino taking pictures in the bathroom mirror. And she turned to me and said, "Hey, let me get your face in this picture." And I said, "No, thank you." But then she took the picture anyway of me and my kid, and I felt this really weird feeling. And I looked down at my kid, and my kid got turned into a corn dog. Lily Tino turned my kid into a corn dog.
This only disappointed viewers even more, with many commenting that she's not a victim. The sooner she realizes it, the better. Another added, "When you are misgendered, you make it apparent that you feel uncomfortable and it ruins your mood. You took a picture of a minor and put it on the internet. Do you not think that the kid and her mom can feel the same way? Does it only matter when you yourself are uncomfortable?" When asked about allegations regarding her lawsuit following the bathroom picture incident, Lily still showed no remorse and continued on without any accountability.
There's also talk of me getting sued for my bathroom pictures at Disney. As far as I know, I am not getting sued, and I don't expect to because I didn't do anything wrong.
But there was much more she stood for that intensified the backlash, starting with her bizarre content often directed towards young children.
Hi friends! Today we're going to talk about something super important, what it means to be transgender. It's a big word, but I promise that it's easy to understand.
Not only did Lily Tino begin teaching kids about being transgender, but she also started prompting them to decide their sexuality themselves at an extremely young age.
First thing I want you to do is close your eyes. Now think, do you feel like a boy, a girl, or a little bit of both? Do you have your answer? Great. Now I want you to imagine that everyone keeps telling you that you're something else, even though in your heart you know who you are. Wouldn't that make you sad inside? People who feel like this are transgender.
She didn't stop there, but instead went all in, posting about a variety of topics meant for children to learn and educate themselves on.
Hi friends! Today we're talking about something super cool called pronouns. Pronouns are little words that help us talk about each other. We all have pronouns. Some people use he and him, like this bear. He's so cuddly. Some people use she and her, like this cat.
This became the final straw for viewers, who by this point were done with all the antics Lily Tino pulled for clout. People accused her of brainwashing young children with misleading and propagandist content, saying,
"Kids are innocent. Leave them out of this."
She was also criticized for impersonating Mrs. Rachel, a popular content creator in the children's entertainment niche who teaches children necessary developmental lessons. Viewers pointed out that Lily used her persona to reach more kids because of her resemblance to the creator they trusted. With all the other criticism surrounding her trans propaganda and her blatant disregard for laws and facts, the pressure became overwhelming. So much so that Lily was finally forced to speak up.
So the whole point of why I do what I do, which is create content, is to educate and to entertain, in that order. And I think that recently my content has taken a bit of a shift to be more, well, I'm hurt.
Not only did Lily address the sudden wave of hatred she was receiving, but she also claimed it was affecting her content creation and causing serious trouble for her career.
That hurt has influenced the way that I do things as a content creator, especially as a streamer.
She continued by saying that her career was being damaged by false accusations and slander, all of which eventually circled back to her claiming that she was being restricted from posting educational content.
The hurt that I feel has influenced the way that I've pushed in my content to be confrontational and be in your face about what I'm trying to do, which is ultimately teach people about trans things.
Rather than acknowledging the criticism of her actions, Lily continued victimizing herself, explaining how the backlash was interfering with her daily life.
That shift is not fun for me at all. It's actually really awful. And it doesn't just impact me, but my family and my friends. And, I'm not here to hurt anybody.
She even swore that she would not change her habits in any way, claiming that this was who she truly was and that she refused to compromise herself.
I'm always going to be a confrontational person, but I think there's ways to do it that are not channeling the anger I feel at the world for hurting me.
And with that, she finally said the words viewers had been waiting months to hear.
So to that end, I'm going to take a break. I don't know when I'll be back. I'll be back, but I don't know when.
This announcement received far more hate than support, with over 75,000 people criticizing her and calling out her inability to take responsibility no matter the circumstances. Many of them even celebrated her departure from the platform. With Lily finally gone, viewers began revealing information she had been denying for years. His real name is Nick Contino, and he has a criminal record for stalking and harassing a woman who didn't want him. He's cosplaying, not transitioning. He's 100% rage bait at this point. Lily Tino is just a character he plays. I'm so glad that one of the women he filmed in a Disney bathroom is seeking legal action. Both Disney and Florida have laws against recording people in bathrooms because they have a reasonable expectation of privacy. Another commenter criticized her narcissism, saying, "It's always you. You feel hurt. You're offended. You're upset. You keep hurting others on purpose. Restaurant workers, the transgender community, and women in general. But when people are hurt, you don't care. You only care about yourself." What viewers didn't realize at the time was that Lily would soon return. Shortly after announcing her departure from TikTok, she was already back.
Hello, I'm back. What's up? Long time no see. The last time you saw me, I was talking about taking a break. And I did take a break. And now I'm back.
She admitted that she had been acting out due to anger issues and acknowledged that she had been wrong about some of the things she previously defended.
But while I was gone, I did some reflecting on the way that I've been approaching things and figured something out. And that something is that I've been leading with anger. I kind of already knew that.
However, she still managed to circle everything back to her activism, justifying her anger and frustration throughout her controversies.
I think it's a really easy trap to fall into, to let anger be the fuel, because there's a lot of anger to go around, especially being a trans person in this day and age.
Once again, she returned to posting trans activism disguised as TikTok entertainment.
Captain, a trans alien has beamed aboard. That's troubling. Put the ship on red alert. Apparently they ran straight from our teleporter to the bathrooms. Wait, what? Yeah, straight to the women's room. Probably to do weird trans alien stuff. Send security.
Using her videos and scripts, she placed herself back into the spotlight, continuing to argue that trans women should be allowed to use women's bathrooms, despite all the backlash she'd already faced.
Whoa. This is a trans-free bathroom, okay? Are you trans? You have to tell me if you are. Trans test number 1. Do you use pronouns? Got a live one here? Give me your arm. Estrogen meter. God, you're full of testosterone. No, wait, that's upside down. Does this flag mean anything to you?
On top of that, she resumed posting her misgendered in public videos.
I would like a cookie. Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sorry.
What kind of cookies do you have? Thank you. Makes me not want a cookie now. I don't think I want to give this place any more of my money. It's okay.
By this point, it was clear to both Lily and her audience that her identity as a trans activist had become nothing more than a way to gain clout, even if it meant spreading misinformation and exposing children to unsolicited ideological content.
Trans kids don't exist. Whoa, that is not true. Almost 2% of all kids are trans. Yeah, and they're all confused. How could that many kids be confused? Because they're being indoctrinated in our schools, teaching that a boy can become a girl. You mean they're teaching kids that trans people exist? Exactly.
Not only did this shift bring even more backlash, but it added yet another brick to the wall of her downfall. She also lost a significant number of followers during this period, with her view counts dropping drastically compared to when she was trending. Safe to say, the petition she once dismissed as meaningless ended up doing exactly what she said it wouldn't, permanently damaging her reputation and her career. And it all ended in overwhelming disappointment from viewers who once saw her as hopeful and inspiring.
Nick Contino is a sick individual. I should just pick him up and ship him off to a country with no internet.
It's sad what mental illness does to a person. He was semi-normal before he went completely off the rails. Maybe it's better he revealed his true nature early. Otherwise, nobody would suspect a normal-looking man of messing with kids until it's too late.